Sweeping makes us very happy. It should make you very happy. So let's talk about it right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure you check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays, as well as all the other traditional podcasting platforms. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and email us anytime with a question, comment, concern, or hot take, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Well, the Tampa Bay Rays sweep the Detroit Tigers this past weekend. Thursday, of course, they won 4-0. Saturday was batting practice, 12-2 win. And then Sunday, a 5-1 win, 3-0 for the good guys. Let's get right into it. Ulises, your takeaways, observations from the weekend.
Well, first of all, I need you to blink once if you're okay, blink twice if you need help, because you're in a very nondescript room. So
Yes.
I need to know if everything is okay, Kevin.
Everything's okay. I'm exhausted from moving weekend. I am still in I relocated back to the Tampa Bay area, parts unknown. But yes, everything is hunky-dory. I just got to decorate my backdrop a little bit. I don't know if I'll ever get up to your level, Ulises. If you're listening on the podcast, you got to check out our YouTube page, and you can see all the bobbleheads and flyers and banners, and I see a guitar back there. Right now, my backdrop is literally a blank canvas, if you will.
Yeah. So thank you for making sure that you're okay. So,
Yes.
okay, let's get started, man. I don't think that it would be a wrong move to talk about anything else first without mentioning the pitching, especially how the starters did.
Yeah.
I mean, it was stellar. And I know before somebody comes here saying it's the Tigers, man, I get it. But because it's the Tigers, this is exactly what they needed to do. Just put him down. Shane McClanahan with 6 shutout. You were like, oh, that's really good. And then Zach Eflin 5 and 1 allowed. You're like, okay, that was pretty good. He looked great. And then Jeffrey Springs comes out as the third starter with a no-hit bid that lasted 6 innings. With 12 strikeouts, by the way. So I think the first takeaway, we got to talk about the starting pitching because it's phenomenal, and we can only hope that Tyler Glasnow comes back really quickly, as long as he's healthy. Let's say
Right.
May, first week of May, and then you can only have to put out Josh Fleming for about 4 or 5 starts, and then this rotation has definitely the quality and ability to be the best in MLB.
Yeah, and we mentioned it, good thing this first month schedule is relatively easy in comparison. So, and Glasnow was going to be on an innings limit as it is. So being able to rack up wins early and maybe not necessarily totally need him this first month, first couple of series is really imperative. Think about if he was back in the fold, Jeffrey Springs could be your number 4 starter.
Yes.
And I think on most teams, he'd be a really, really solid number 2. I think there's a reason now that we look back and see, okay, the Rays really trust and envy what he brings to the table, giving him that 4-year contract extension. Again, we've talked about it. He's not the type of guy that's going to blow you away with a 95, 98 mile per hour fastball, but that changeup from the left side, working off a 92, 93 mile per hour fastball, it's got to be one of the best pitches on the Rays and maybe in the American League. I mean, you talk about great lefties with great changeups. I mean, it almost, again, not fair to compare these guys, but Mark Burley, Johan Santana, Tom Glavine, Jamie Moyer, guys with, lethal changeups. And because that pitch is so dynamite, we saw it with Jeffrey Springs. Like, he was getting the opposition confused and all turned around on the fastball, 92, 93 mile per hour fastball, pinpointing it wherever he wanted to. I think guys were expecting changeup, and before they knew it, it was too late. So being able to not get necessarily swings and misses on the fastball, but just get caught looking and getting caught dead on the fastball when you're maybe expecting changeup. And then, of course, the flails and swinging over the top and swinging late on the change is amazing as well.
Yeah, and the caught looking, that was Miggy. Right down the
Yeah.
middle. It was like the 2012, like Sergio Romo. Like, you just are thinking one way, and then he comes out and gives you a fastball down the middle. I think the fun thing with Jeffrey Springs, this has been since going into a starter, because as a reliever, he was just all right. Nothing to write home about. Like, oh, have you seen Jeffrey Springs out of the bullpen? He
Right.
was okay. But since becoming a starter, this is a fun game if you want to do this, Rays fans at home. Look at where the catcher's mitt is set up, and then look at where the ball ends up. Usually, if you do this, you'll see catchers, going up and down and right, because like then you're like, okay, mislocation. After the second inning, it was uncanny how when
Yeah.
the glove was right here, the ball ended up right there. It was really, really cool. So if you have a chance next time of a Jeffrey Springs outing, do that. It's the command is so good. Like if he wants a strike on the paint, he will get that. He has just evolved really, really well.
He's a throwback in terms of the control and the command and the easy, repeatable delivery. And again, that's kind of why the changeup is so good, because of the arm speed that you literally don't know. If you just watch him throwing a fastball versus a changeup, it looks like the same exact delivery and same exact arm speed that you're getting from him. And like you mentioned, I mean, hey, I want to throw a pitch up and away. It's up and away perfectly. Down and away. It's down and away perfectly. And also, I would say solid job by, what was it, Christian Bethancourt behind the plate?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, Christian Bethancourt. He had some real nice framed strikes, or at least giving Jeffrey Springs a little bit of help along the way. And let's also not forget this about Springs. We talk about the changeup all the time, of course, because it's terrific, but he has a really, really nasty sweeping slider. He got Meadows looking pretty bad in a spot there. So he may not deploy that as much as he needs to. I mean, he sort of has that in his back pocket because the fastball and the change works off each other so well, but that's something he can also go to at times if need be. So again, the ability to get lefties out, of course, but righties, I mean, he can get really any righty out that he wants to.
Yeah, no, and I love that you mentioned this slider, because then that's his weapon against lefties. The down and away slider. I mean, if it has the shape that it had yesterday, you're gonna make a lot of baseball players look like like that. Austin Meadows did not look good in that swing, and he can do that. Now, I'm really excited about this rotation. This was just a little glimpse. Like we said, Fleming is gonna go against the Nationals, so you hope that the lesser opponents is not going to give him an opportunity to not be his best self. I understand that he had bad luck last year, but usually he will be the worst of the rotation. So let's just hope everything turns out okay, because these first three starters were just chef's kiss, man. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. Anything else big from the takeaway department, or mainly for you, it was the pitching?
Yeah, and you probably are going to hit on the offense, so I'll leave that to you.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Before we get to that, we have to tell the audience about something very important.
Yes, we do, and that is, if you've ever wanted to be a baseball GM, well, we've got the coolest game for you to do that. Okay, this is Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. You can get it at your app store. This game allows you to hire the right coaches and staff. You can scout and draft players. You can navigate your franchise through the season and hopefully get that trophy at the end. I've said this before. The cool thing about it is you can match up personalities between coaches and players, so you know that you're actually going to get some good team chemistry within that game. So Locked On Race listeners, you get a 100% free boost to your franchise when you use the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probaseballgm.com. You can scan the code, or much easier way, just look it up on your app store. Okay, so Ultimate Baseball GM, start your dynasty today.
All right. I'm glad you saved the offense for me because that is something that I do want to hit on. Again, when you outscore, yeah, the Tigers, they're a lousy team. I'll admit and acknowledge that, but they're still a major league team and they still get paid too. And again, you outscore a team, by a margin like that, 19-3 or whatever it is. Very, very impressive. And I mean, we can hit on, Randy and Wander and Yandy going deep, but I was just really, really upbeat about the professional hitting and the professional at bats by this Rays squad over the course of the weekend. And really something that caught my eye was the amount of guys who could just punch the ball the other way and up the middle. It just seemed like over the course of this series, there was a lot of, hey, off speed pitch or a fastball in. I mean, really making adjustments to push the ball up the middle of the field, use the middle of the field,
Yeah.
whether it was, waiting on an off speed or, hey, I've got a 93-mile-per-hour fastball in. I'm going to bring the hands in and just pop it up over there for a base hit, not having to or trying to do too much. And so many guys exhibited that, from Jose Siri to Isaac Paredes to Taylor Walls. Francisco Mejia did it as well. Wander Franco, of course, did it as well. And the other thing I want to mention about the offense, I don't have a ton of stats in front of me here, but just kind of observational things. But again, only one series, only 3 games. It is the Tigers, but Wander just driving the ball, whether it's from the left side or right side of the plate. I think that's very, very important because he has a little bit of a reputation of a ground chuck. Hey, you can make contact with anything and everything, but you're just hitting the ball into the dirt in the infield. And you really need to leverage your skill set and try to lift that ball more, whether it's a hard liner or a ball off the wall or just driving it deep. I think that's something that I don't know if it was an off-season focal point or just learning and developing and getting more experience, but that could and should be a game changer for this guy going forward.
And it was a great start for what I am hoping to be the team MVP this year for Wander Franco. I have the stats for you, so don't worry about it. He was 7
Thank
for
you.
11 with a home run, 3 doubles, and 4 RBI. I mean, this is just as good as it gets for an opening week start or opening weekend start for him. He looked so good. Like, it's amazing that this kid is 22 years old. The game just looks so easy to him. Like I said on Twitter, like when he gets going, it's like he's playing a softball league, bro. Like it's not
Yeah.
even a problem for him. It's not. And the last hit that he did was just ridiculous. So I'm really happy to see Wander get started that way. Also, he gets a stolen base, which is really cool because then now and he had an attempt as well during the weekend, but he was fouled off. So no, the quad seems to be all right. That's fantastic. Wander is, lifting the ball like you're saying, which is good news. I gotta tell you, you mentioned him, and I think we should put a little bit of a spotlight on him because he's always going to be known more because of his defensive work is so good. El Rayo, Jose Siri. I mean, he
Yeah.
was impactful with clutch RBIs this whole weekend. Again, another stolen base, which was really cool to see because his stolen base came after 2 pickoff attempts. I hadn't seen that yet. A pitcher burned both of his
Mm.
pickoff attempts, and then it was just like, okay, Jose is definitely going now, right? And
Yeah.
he stole that bag so easily. So, I think we had a prop bet where he has 40 bags or more, and I said yes. We're on our way, baby. We're on our way because he looks so good right now, which is if he can do something with that bat, if he can be a 90, 95 WRC plus kind of guy at the plate, which again would put him around 10 to 5 points below average. He's giving you so much with the glove. It's going to work out perfectly overall with the overall value.
Yes. Hey, I mentioned this in the Roundtable AL East preview show, which you can go back and listen to it with all the other hosts from the AL East, of course. I said, and I kind of threw it in the Locked On Blue Jays host face. I mean, that show's had like 4 hosts in the last 12 months. It's kind of unbelievable. But that, hey, Jose Siri is going to have a higher WAR than Kevin Kiermaier this season, whether it's by Jose Siri going out and dominating the competition or Kevin Kiermaier only being available for like 80 games. So one way or the other, I've got Jose Siri high on my leaderboard there. We've got more to discuss on this and quick preview of the Nationals series. Talk about another trashy team. I shouldn't say that. They haven't even played yet, really. Built Bar March Madness. Well, it's April, but hey, we'll still play it. The Built March Madness bracket is here. We know you have a favorite bar or puff, and now is your time to make it count. So go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You should know this, but I'll reiterate. What makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, they're high in protein, low in sugar, and covered in 100% chocolate. Real chocolate, I should say. That's right, real chocolate. That's why they're so good. So run over to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop on and support your favorite pick. All right, Ulises, before we get into a brief discussion of the Nationals, just want to give some shout out comments here from listeners on their takes on the opening weekend series for the Rays. Carlos Herrera says, bats look good, but this was Detroit. Don't get me wrong. I was happy with just about everything. However, I want to see when they play a really solid team, which should be the Houston series. I have no faith in the Jays until I see it on the field. Can't believe people still picking them to win this, that, etc. But that's for another rant. Alex Mullen says, starting pitching looks just as good as advertised so far. Offense is booming and the fans are coming. Michael Clark says, was great to see Wander get off to a scorching hot start after that little quad scare early last week. Siri, Josh Lowe, and Randy have the potential to be a solid everyday outfield lineup. Baconing Time says, I don't know the Detroit's pitching is just that bad or if our hitting coaches have implemented some new techniques, but the offense is looking extraordinary. And then Kevin Gonzalez says, the lineup consistently made contact. I was concerned after Saturday's blowout that the strikeouts that had just settled into the lineup in the latter half of that game would bleed into Sunday, but overall they did not. And one more I want to mention, Ty McCann has a mailbag question or prop bet for us. We might have to save this for later. Over unders on no hitters this year for the Rays, 0.5. I'm taking the over. I'm feeling really good about a rotation in the old arm barn. Go Rays. Yeah, that's the other thing about the pitching staff. I did an interview with a Yankees podcast the other day, and it's like, yeah, I mean, the rotation, you really should, not to say every guy is going to go 7-8 innings, every 5 days, but you shouldn't have to, if you're the Rays, play this game of, hey, we got to have a bullpen day. We got to have openers. We can only let the guy go through the order twice. I mean, you could, once you get into the throes of the season, I'm expecting a lot of, 6 1/3, 6 2/3, 7 innings.
That's why it was so great to see that on their first start, Eflin went 5, easy. And then you're like, okay, this is an easy game. Take him out. McClanahan, 6, strong. Springs, even stronger, 6. Like, that's their first start. So you're thinking, okay, come July, when they're really ramped up, like players have said, like, okay, that's when we're really good. Then you can see, maybe even stretch them out to 7 1/3, 7 2/3. Like, if the game allows it to be, if the pace allows it to be, if the pitch count allows it to be, if the bullpen is tired, like all of those factors have to come into play, but it can happen. And so it's really cool to see them go this deep so early in the season. Now, let's see how it goes with Rasmussen. Probably Fleming is the one that's not going to go as deep as the other 4. But one more thing. I want to give a shout out to new play-by-play Neil Solondz, who had this really cool idea. Left field always goes nuts for Randy because Randy is awesome and he interacts with the player, with the fans, and he gets them all riled up. He said, "What about if the left field stands or a section or two has the name Randy's Rowdies, making a play on the soccer team,
Ah,
the ownership, Randy's Rowdies. And, they all strike the pose when he comes out to left field. That would be kind of cool. It would kind of work like the same as I think the Yankees have something with Judge, right? Judge's chambers and
yeah.
King Felix had the court, King's Felix court. Like that would be kind of cool to do that to a player that has given so many moments to a fandom. I think that would be a nice return for the fans to give something to Randy. So I give props to Neil Solondz for coming up with that idea, and hopefully they do that.
Yeah, I mean, didn't that section have the Choi Boys? Or was it the other, I mean,
I think so.
yeah. So, no, I think that's a great idea. Marketing department of the Rays, get on and help out. I mean, that's a great idea from Neil Solondz, who I listened to bits and pieces of the radio broadcast. I thought he did a really good job being paired up with Andy Fried. Of course, you can and won't ever replace Dave Wills, but I think Neil, of course, has the expertise and the professionalism to make that broadcast sound good. Although they got to find that next pregame, postgame host. He can't be pulling double duty like that. I mean, you got to bring some assistance in there. It's not going to be us by any means, but there's some talented broadcasters out there. So figure something out if you're the Rays.
The dude is pulling like 8 innings in April. Like, come on, let's not do this to Neil. Like,
yeah, exactly. He hasn't even stretched out yet. What are you
Yeah.
doing? I mean, he might have a no-hitter going, but you got to take him out after the 6th inning.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Rays have a 3-game series versus the Nationals. I mean, they're pretty much the National League version of the Detroit Tigers, except probably worse. They went 55-107 last season. Pacoda projects them to go 61-101 this season. They lost 2 of 3 to the Braves over their opening series, 7-2 loss on Thursday, 7-1 loss on Saturday, and then a 4-1 win on Sunday. Again, I'm not going to get too cocky and too confident. This series is on the road, of course, for the Rays, but I would hope you could take 2 of 3, considering you look up and down this Nationals roster and it leaves much to be desired. And I know we talked about it a week or two ago about, hey, the Tigers are notorious for giving out bad contracts, i.e. Miggy Cabrera, Javi Baez, the list goes on. I mean, the Nationals are kind of the National League version of that, with perpetually injured Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin. There's been other guys as well. So they're in a really rough spot.
I would say worse. Patrick Corbin is like the Chris Davis, like the Baltimore Chris Davis version. Like Patrick Corbin, he just is not performing.
He's like Josh Fleming making $20 million a year. Imagine Josh Fleming making $20 million a year, whatever Patrick Corbin's making.
But worse.
Yeah.
But worse. Like it's crazy. It's insane. So I would even give the Nationals the number 1 spot on that in the bad contract era. But no, it should be hopefully a very well played series by the Rays. Again, you have to play every game like you're not playing down to your competition. I know that has been an issue with this team sometimes, that when they see the roster not paired up, they kind of like take the notch a little bit down, and that's when you can get into trouble. So hopefully that doesn't happen. They keep it going up. Rasmussen, will see him going against Trevor Williams. You're asking, who's Trevor Williams? Well, he had an okay season last year. I think an ERA under 3.3, 3.21. Okay. A little bit under a strikeout per inning. I think he had 89 innings and he had 84 strikeouts. So just a little bit under that, and a whip of 1.24. So you're facing an okay guy, but with no prior previews of this guy. I think it's only 3 guys that have had any sort of interaction, and that's Bethancourt, Siri, and somebody else. So it's going to be a new pitcher that they face. So hopefully on the first turn through the lineup, there's just going to be a lot of seeing the pitches and a lot of, plate discipline, try to see what he can do. And then you can probably see in the 3rd and the 4th inning, the guys try to swing the bat a little bit better.
I mean, sometimes those are the guys that are most dangerous, where whatever his stuff is, whatever kind of profile he has or how much experience he has, if the opposition, our hitters, whatever it may be, if they've never seen him before, that, before you know it, it could be, 5-6 innings of, hey, we haven't even crossed a run yet. Like, what is going on? So don't be surprised if that could be the case there. So should be a interesting series, and hopefully the Rays can rack up some more dubs. In the meantime, thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.